excited about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Good. Okay, so I have my list of questions. I like to show this because you can see it's almost like a to-do list when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I love it.
And you're like, okay, I'm gonna just start. Good. So let's
Got my book.
start. Oh, I see your book. Great. Excellent. I'm so delightful and happy to see you and talk to you. And it feels like I know you forever.
I know. How funny is that?
Isn't it? It's like, oh my gosh. So when this...
But you're like that. You're like that. Anyway.
It's funny. When this is over and we can travel, then I want to go to Atlanta and I want to see your studio. I want to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
And I want an autograph. I want a book and an autograph.
Absolutely.
And a photograph with you. The whole package.
You're making me feel more important than I am.
So we are with Amy Schimler. Is that correct? Did I pronounce your name right?
It's actually hyphenated. It's Schimler Safford. It's a mouthful.
Yes.
But Schimler's my maiden name, and my husband was Safford, and
yes.
So 30 years after being married, 30 years, I hyphenated it.
and actually, it is easier to say it.
Other name is a keeper.
So. Yeah. So thank you so much for accepting this invitation. This is so informal. We're in our houses. Nothing is planned. So this is the beauty about this chat of today. And so basically, let me give a little introduction to the people that don't know why and how this conversation is happening. So we both took a workshop with this amazing professor, mentor, and illustrator called Javier Zavala from Spain. And it was online, and we started building this community of illustrators from different parts of the world. And there we were, Amy and I, and we could see our work, and we could comment, and we could support each other. And we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and we continue maintaining contact after a year and a half, correct? Or pretty much.
October, it was the fall, so a year and a half,
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that basically connections is everything at the end of the day. Relationships are important, no matter how long you are or how far away you are from that person.
Totally.
And here we are talking today. So Amy, you just showed me your amazing book, which I'm so curious to see it and listen to you talking about this amazing award that you were having your book in a contest. And I think this contest was in Rhode Island and New York, correct?
Sometimes in the US, states will host these awards for the books that came out the previous year or a year before, and they're just a lot of fun. Mostly it inspires kids to read, and kids that don't have access to books can go to the library and just check the book out for free, and they read something like 20 plus books throughout a year. So it's really to stimulate an interest in reading in elementary age kids. And I know in Rhode Island, for example, one of my books was just chosen as the #1 pick. The kids vote on all the books that they've read through the year. I have 2 monitors, so if you see me looking, it's because I see you here, but you see me here.
Oh, that's great. Keep going.
I'll be going back and forth. But this book that came out in 2018, He's Amazing Escape, is, I think the reason it has so much appeal to the kids is it's based on a true story.
Yes.
About an octopus that was injured, found by a fisherman, brought to an aquarium in New Zealand, and he escaped his tank, went through a hole in the ground, and wound up back in the ocean. So it was a big story that was in all the newspapers, and
Wow.
we
Well,
immortalized it
this
in a
is,
children's book.
it's amazing. This is the second time I hear this, because we spoke yesterday
Yeah.
briefly, and you're telling me the story, and I still feel, you know, like impressed to hear that this actually happened. And
Yeah.
you know, wow.
So it's an exciting story, and when I've read it to kids aloud, you know, when I don't have little children, so when I see their reactions, they always are just can't believe it's real, that it's a real story. And I think because it's a real story, it just, you know, it's much more exciting.
It is
'Cause it's not
surprising.
all
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
we were, I'll let you.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yesterday we were talking a little bit about what the job of an illustrator is. Should we proceed with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
Okay.
gonna just say something real quickly so people know about this contest, and tell me if it's true, because I just did a little research about this contest, but it was actually voted by children.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is
So
beautiful. It's nice.
that's the best. That's who your audience is,
Yeah.
and that's what you want.
Yeah.
And I was blown away because it's a little bit of an older group of kids. I think it was grades 3 through 5, which is about average 10 years old, 8 to 10, 11.
Yes.
And there were some more sophisticated stories, you know, like, I don't know if they had chapter books, but more like that, that would read like a novel versus a picture book.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the awards, I thought, you know, no way would they choose a picture book. And for this older audience, they did, which was a big surprise. And that's a nice surprise because it's geared for younger children than that. So
But
to know
yeah,
it has a wider audience, you know, is always exciting.
it is always excited because sometimes
Yeah.
you are as an artist or as a writer, you think that you are focusing on one specific target of age
Right.
group, and the book can actually surprise you when
That's
it
right.
goes beyond, you know, that age, and it doesn't has an age. There's a lot of books that we as adults we love reading.
I love picture books.
I love picture books. I'm not in the age of 0 to 5 or 0 to 3 and 5 to 7 years old, and I love it.
That's right.
So,
So it's, you know, it's just a ton of fun.
so actually, my question to you was, tell us something about how did you started art? Because I don't know that story. Did you study yourself, or did you actually went to an art school, and where?
Well, I always loved drawing. And when I was a little kid, I did art all the time. And I wanted to go to art school for college, but I was dissuaded by my parents, really, who thought I should do something more practical. So I got more of a liberal arts education, and I was an occupational therapist for many years. And before I turned 30 years old, I was panicking, and I said, oh, what do I need to do, you know, that I haven't done that I'll regret? And I went back to art school. I worked part-time and I went to art school.
Very
And I
nice.
studied textile design, and then had a family. And it wasn't until I was probably in my 40s, I started working as a textile designer, doing patterns. And it's sort of
Wow.
like being a graphic designer, really.
Wow.
And I started getting clients and started illustrating greeting cards and other products for children. It was always juvenile-based artwork that I was producing. And one thing led to another, and then I started doing board books, and now I'm only doing children's book illustration.
But you
So
also
it really
continue.
wasn't a goal specifically. It sort of evolved as my career evolved.
And you also do continue with textiles, right? You still are working with fabrics, with
Yeah,
patterns.
a little bit. The
Okay.
last 2 years, not so much.
Okay, because it's a completely different business, and it probably has different vendors, how that works.
Yes.
Uh, but it's interesting because it's still art, and you know, it probably pays very good. I don't know. Tell us if it pays good
It
or
pays pretty
not.
good. It does
Yeah,
pay
it
pretty
does.
good. Yeah, and the best way to work I have found in any product that you're trying to move to a broader market is through an agent. So I had an agency that sold my designs,
Yes.
and it was a pretty good living, yeah. And then I think my illustration style now has very much been informed by the work I did for, the textile design, because you're working with color, you're working with layout, you're working with pattern, and you just start to build a vocabulary. And my picture book illustration, I always get remarks about my color. I always get remarks about the texture. And, you know, that's so much of really what I was doing as a more of a graphic designer.
Yeah, it's actually it everything comes helpful, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have other techniques or other know-hows, and you start mixing and matching your own recipe. And I can see some of your books that you have collage, and collage is
Oh, collage,
completely
yeah.
different from a fabric, but still is, you know, you can use fabric as a collage or paper as a collage and illustrate a book. And you know, it comes handy when you know tricks like that.
It really does. It's, yeah, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me something. Tell me about we were saying that, you know, sometimes books don't have age, and we are grown-ups, but we love picture books. So which is your favorite picture book that either you read many times to your son, or you actually continue opening that book and enjoying it and reading that
That's
book?
such a good question. We had a bookstore in Atlanta years ago. It was just like a warehouse. It
Yeah.
just had a little bit of everything. And when my son was a toddler, I would take him, more for me than him, probably in retrospect. But I found a book called Button. Familiar with it? By
No,
Sarah Finelli.
no.
And on the outside of the book, it had an actual paper button that swirled around. If I'm well informed about this, it was an art student project of hers that she did, and then it became a book. She's a British UK artist, and she does a lot of collage. And
What is her name? Because I didn't get her name.
Sarah Finelli.
Okay, great, great. So then also
Fanelli.
perfect. So then we have David and Glenda here today watching this chat with us. And welcome. So then let's see. So that's awesome, because we can see the book later. We can put also the link of that. It's always to see new books that, you know, we can have the opportunity to either buy or get to see new books.
So she's a collage artist. She may do other things now. I have several of her books.
Nice.
But I think she did stamps in the UK. She's done a lot of different things and different products. But nice. She blew me away because it was so different than anything I had seen before. I also, like many illustrators, love Myra Coleman. She also just, you know, and there were just a few artists that inspired me and got me thinking. I can't remember if I actually ever said, oh, I want to illustrate children's books. You know, it was more just, I want to be an artist. I want to do art. I want to, and children were always somehow an audience for the kind of work that I did. Because it's whimsical. I love whimsical art.
Yeah.
And the two artists, you know, Sarah Finelli and Myra Coleman, are whimsical, if nothing else. You know,
yeah, because that was going to be actually my question too. How did you end up doing children's books? But you are a mom, you read a lot of books to your child too, and that probably had to influence in a way.
Yeah.
You know, later on, you probably said, "Oh my gosh, I remember this style and this, book
Oh, yeah.
I loved," and yeah.
Until he was at a certain age, I did take advantage. And I would leave the library with a pile this high of all my favorite illustrators.
That is
But they
great.
were typically good stories, and my son enjoyed them.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he's an amazing reader. And he probably loves books too, because my son and I, every time we go to a bookstore, we have to come with a book. Every time
Yeah.
we go to a bookstore, we have to
Yeah.
get a book.
It's exciting. It's exhilarating. Unfortunately, that bookstore that was in Atlanta went out of business, and you could hear the groans across the city because it was so popular and so many people loved
Wow,
it.
that's exciting. That's exciting. So tell us about yesterday we talked, and I know that when the artists create a book, either a chapter book or a picture book,
Yeah.
the artist also puts a lot of little, maybe some little or layers or more than one layer into the book, because there's a message that maybe she or he wants to
Yeah.
to come across and share that in a way that is not telling you by the words of the author, but
That's
by
right.
the image. So show us some of your picture book and how
Yeah.
it was created. And I know there's a page that you told me yesterday,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh my gosh, she has to tell this today to the people that are here with us." Ellie is
Yeah.
here also with us, so we welcome her as well.
So what happened was, as I was, got into more the business of illustrating picture books, I feel, in a way I was learning on the job. It was new to me after doing the textile design, as we discussed. And, the illustrator tells a story alongside the author of the book. It's sort of two stories going on at the same time. And what a really good editor does is parses out what words don't need to be in the book because the pictures are telling that part of the story. And then what's missing in the pictures, that the words, it's a marriage between the words and the pictures. So it's a continuous process of editing and pulling back and adding and pulling back either pictures or words. And that whole process, the whole narrative part of telling a story through art, was completely new to me. And I have to say, to me now, the most thrilling aspect of illustrating a picture book. So you can tell a story, using pictures in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But for example, with this book, it's a book about the journey of the octopus. And the story starts off with when it's a little egg, baby, just hatched, a newly hatched egg. And
But the book a little bit up.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Now we can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's the little baby.
Yeah.
And the person who authored the book, Cy Montgomery, her intent was for this to be an educational book about octopuses. So, it's telling the story, but also educating. And so the point she wanted to make in the beginning was that even at this young age, an octopus is on his own, no help from the mom, no brothers and sisters. Once it's hatched, it's off. So I wanted to make this spread a little scary, a little overwhelming, showing size difference, of the fish that are in the ocean, and even just the mysteriousness of it. Here, it didn't print as clearly as my illustration intended to show, but I kind of like how it turned out, because right here, really, you just see the eyes, it's spooky and conveys the message. So my job as the illustrator was to sort of fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
What does that feel like? What sort of world do you want the reader, you know, to be pulled into? So you're already feeling, you know, for this little character, what his experience is. So color, mood,
Yes.
and then other ways in which you can have some fun telling a story with pictures is, I don't know if you, I have no idea if anybody who's read this book noticed this, but when I drew the beard of the fisherman who finds the injured octopus, you can see here, I think you can see that he's injured. And
Yes, I can see that.
pulls
Yes.
him up in his lobster trap, expecting a lobster, but is surprised. So when I drew the fisherman, I took his beard and made his beard a little octopus-like.
I can see that.
Okay, so to show one of the biggest messages Cy Montgomery has when she writes books for adults or children is she's an animal activist, and she loves the idea that, you know, animals have a lot more to say and a lot more we understand and a lot more similarities with humans
Yes.
than, you know, than might be obvious.
Yeah.
So she really sees animals as sentient beings. And I wanted to show, you know, the likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're, oh my gosh, I expected a lobster. There's this strange creature, but maybe we're more alike than we are different.
And
So I
connections.
did that by making him look a little bit like an octopus.
Yeah, no, it's true, and connections as well. What you're saying is totally true. It is.
And their reactions are the same because the octopus is also saying, "Who the heck are you? I've never seen a human. What are you?" So they're meeting, you know, for the first time.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. So that's, you know, other types of ways an illustrator might approach a story or think about a page or think about the text. And then in this one, well, this one is a lot of fun because the week before I drew this illustration, and this is where the fisherman loads him up with all his lobsters,
Mm-hmm.
which also just showing that shows how out of place the octopus felt. You know, which one of these doesn't belong? And so he was in this new environment and with lobsters, not other octopuses or fish that he's used to seeing. And he drives to the aquarium, takes him to the aquarium. So I put some personal things in this spread just for fun and for me and for people who knew these dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So a friend of my, oh, that's a cat. Sorry. There's one dog.
Yeah, we cannot see the dog. Really, I can see a shape, but it's very.
Oh, if I get closer.
Oh, I can see that one. Yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah.
And they're two dogs that I had just met the week before that were two rescue dogs that are real characters. And, you know, I just, for fun, said, oh, I'll pop those in.
That's nice.
Yeah, but so, then here's another, one more example.
The illustrations are what? They're a mix of watercolor and some collage or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, so I'll show that next. Yeah. Okay, and then here, another way to tell a story is, here's the scared, hurt octopus who, again, is finding himself in a new environment. And how's he going to react and what's it going to be like? And one of the things Cy Montgomery wanted to share and teach is that octopuses are curious. More than frightened, it would be curious. And I also just put this little octopus on the bucket so the reader sees, well, this isn't the first time they've handled an octopus, so he's safe. He's in a safe place with people who know what they're doing. So it comforts the reader a little bit to be less afraid and opens it up to understand that this is an exciting adventure and one where an octopus is going to be more curious.
That's amazing. That is really nice. Really thoughtful. There's a lot of thought into a book, right? There's a
Well,
lot
that's
of
it.
research.
Right, exactly. I went to the aquarium and I met an octopus and put my arm in a tank and it wrapped one of its arms around me and I had to yank it off with the sound of the suckers popping.
Oh,
But they taste and feel and get to know you with their suckers.
yeah.
And so it was actually checking me out and tasting me and trying to figure out what I was, who I was.
Wow.
And it can recognize me, like if I came back the next time, it would have recognized me and be able to differentiate me from its
Really?
caretaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're so smart. They're such smart animals.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, so tell us about the mediums. What, because an artist, you are an artist, and you have done a lot of different variety of styles and techniques. So, which is the one that you like the most?
So I call it mixed media, and that doesn't pigeonhole me into being any one thing, because the thing I love to do the most is experiment and explore. And I do the finished piece on the computer.
Okay.
So I take all my information and I refine it for the final.
You do it in Photoshop or in
Photoshop.
Yeah? Okay.
I use Illustrator a little bit.
Okay.
Little tricks I know from having done so much textile design.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've done so much of it, it's a quick, easy tool and it saves me a lot of time. But
What about Procreate? Do you use Procreate?
You know what? I came to that late because I already had a style of working. I really haven't switched, but I use Procreate for things like hair, really fine things that are hard, that I can use on the computer, that are hard to translate from a drawing and scanning it and getting it just right.
Nice.
So Procreate, there are people who are illustrating entire books on Procreate now.
That's true. That's true.
And you wouldn't believe it.
But you know what I heard also, and I know friends that they have said it out loud. They start loving Procreate, and then it passes some time, and then you start missing the part of hands-on, of
getting dirty.
and getting dirty and mixing and matching colors, and so that's experience you cannot get to. Both are good. Procreate is awesome, but also being in your studio with your table and experimenting.
And every artist has a different style.
Yeah.
And every artist works it's like a completely different world. One artist to another and how they work.
Like cooking. It's an art. It's like cooking. A chef is gonna do a souffle in a way, and another chef is gonna do the same souffle, but it's gonna have different flavor, different surprises.
Absolutely.
And different presentation, right? Different presentations.
Presentation. They approach it with a different sensibility.
Yes, there you go.
They have different goals.
There you go. Yeah.
Some people are rustic, some people are refined. So,
yeah.
But I guess that's true in art too. Some people, I'm rustic. Okay.
so I think you have you have something to show us. Go ahead.
So in that particular book, I had a lot of coral reefs and obviously ocean views. And so I started creating textures, and this is where I have the most fun. I think I said the narrative part and telling the story is one kind of fun. And then this is a whole other kind of fun, because this is sort of like kindergarten, like no brain, just let it go, just feeling, playing with materials and being as loose and free as possible.
Nice.
Using color combinations that I like, and I like stripes.
That's a nice one.
A lot of this was masking tape and then pulling the tape off, and no control. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's how I like it.
Let me get into it, because then I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about to the homeschoolers, to our parents that are going to watch this later or are watching right now. Yeah. One of the ideas that I talked to Amy is for her to share with us what we could do at home. as an activity because we're all at home. And, you know, sometimes we don't really know and we've run out of resources, even though there's so many in the internet, right?
Yeah.
To get, but we have an artist with us today, and she's
Okay.
just starting to giving us a tip of what we can do at home with our children. So that's great.
Well, even, you know, on these two,
Yeah.
this one, I used paintbrushes, I used crayons, I used acrylic paint, and I just built on it. Then I take a napkin and wipe down different areas. And then I let it dry, and then I go back in and I use a complete, that's why I say mixed media. I almost never approach it twice the same way. I don't keep even a log of what works and what doesn't, because I want to do it new the next time.
Nice.
So for me, that's where, because picture books, it's a very controlled thing. It's a small space you get to dance in. And this, I get to dance all around the room. You know, I get to do whatever I want. And then I don't use everything I do, obviously. I use some of it, and I figure out how to use it and how to best use it. But with this, for example, this is just a series of ripping masking tape, putting it down, painting over it, pulling off the tape,
Wow.
painting over that, putting more tape on. Maybe it's skinnier tape, maybe it's fat tape.
I love it.
And I just keep going, building color, using the color. And even if I don't like the color, once I scan it into the computer, I can change the color. So that's the beauty of the combination. That's the beauty of doing art digitally, is changing a color like that. Because every artist knows, right?
Let me ask you something. So, so you put first the tape on the paper, and then
well,
you
put the color, or I use colored paper.
Color paper, okay, and then you
so that when you take the tape off, there's color underneath it.
It's nice, beautiful, beautiful. And for
and
those,
you can do it in the other direction. You can do it crisscross. You can make a circle shape.
TikTok, what is that game? The tic-toe with the X and the zeros.
Tic-tac-toe? Yeah.
You can make your own game.
and then completely different. I take watercolor.
Very nice.
And I think I had a roller, like a paint roller that had a texture on it that I rolled across. I know there's some watercolor. It might be watercolor pencils that you draw with, and then you just take water. The beauty is, and if you're working with kids and homeschooling kids, is get as messy. I just lost your video. Oh, hello.
I can see you. I can see you.
Okay, somebody else came on, I think.
Yeah, I can see you.
And then the beauty of working with children, and the thing I most would want to inspire if I was working with kids, would be there's no mistakes. You can't make a mistake. And even if you're home and you're just creating these textures, later on you can take a bunch of them and cut them up and paste them down and make a dog, make a cat, you know, the sky's the limit, or your children will know what animal they want.
That is the beauty about it, you know.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. So let me ask you something while you show us more of your work. I remember yesterday we were both, you know, so funny. We both have these messages with post notes.
Yes.
You share with me a post note. Do you want to share with us one of those? You have a lot of nice inspiration messages.
I have these on my computer.
And what does it says that one?
All the time. But I change them out from time to time, but these are my 3 right now.
Yeah.
3 go-tos. So we took a workshop with this really talented illustrator, Javier Zavala. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And he was just like inspired, just what I was talking about. You just go for it. Be free. There's no limitations to what you can do. Let your mind just, you know, bubble up, and don't hold yourself back. And he kept saying no fear. And every artist I've ever met, especially professional, is so afraid all the time. Is it going to be good enough? Will people like it? I don't even know what. Will I like it? And it just says, just keep painting, work relaxed, no fear, Javier. So I read that every morning.
That is great. If he watched these, he'll be very happy to know that.
I told him at the end, I told him, no fear. That was my takeaway.
I'm sure he will watch this video.
Yeah, I have another one that says color first and good design. So I try to remember that when I'm doing, the final illustration and getting it all pulled together and ready to send to the editors. I always start with color. I find my color story for the illustration before I do anything else. And I really do it intuitively. I don't really give it too much thought. I want to have a feel and a sensation for what that page is supposed to look like. And the color, like we talked about earlier, dictates mood very much so. And then I have, this is a quote from an artist on Instagram who I found recently. He's, I think, a genius.
Well, who is this?
Stuff. And he says, if in trouble, add pink.
I didn't get that one. I didn't get that one. What it says?
Thank you.
If in trouble, add pink.
Okay.
And I
watch. It's very interesting.
I thought that was
talking on that. 1 second. I think someone is talking, but you're talking.
Oh, okay. But I thought that was the most brilliant thing I ever read because pink kind of doesn't go with anything. It's a girly color. There's so many things about pink. And I started doing it. And it's like when an illustration's not working out, when you're in trouble, think about pink. And it's amazing. Okay, we're getting
that is amazing. That is pretty cool. So then now tell me something. Okay. This has nothing to do with art, but is a question, a quick one here. Do you like ocean view or garden view?
Oh, I like these questions.
I'm glad you like that one.
It would be like 51% ocean, 49% garden.
Ooh. That's
ocean.
Nice. That's nice because since you have lived in places with water, right?
Yeah, grew up in Miami.
So I love places with water. To me, I love to be near. Passing a bridge and there's water and it's just an amazing feeling. And yeah, I was wondering about you, if you were more like a gardening kind of a person where you get inspired, or the waves, the water, even a lake. So that's cool. Yes. So now tell me something. We have 5 minutes, and the reason why I wanted to see your book called Hidden City is because we are celebrating National Poetry Month. That's in US, correct? And I believe that that has poetry. Am I correct on that one?
You are correct.
Oh, great. So are you going to share us? Are you going to share with us a poem or something there? Nice. Yeah.
So beautiful. This is they're poems about nature in urban environments, and each page is a different poem. So it was like doing, I don't know how many, 20 plus different illustrations that weren't really connected to one another, but just for the look of the book. So that's a little mouse.
That has collage, right?
Yes, and these, this book, the illustrations in this book are a little more textured. They're sort of like one-offs, so it doesn't need to be each page literally connected to the page before. Although you want the whole book to pull together using the same style, but you had a little more leeway to experiment. But you can see with like her stockings is a piece of paper with a pattern on it that I scanned into the computer and cut up. And then I made a pattern for the boots and collaged that in. And then for the ground, I think I scanned in actual tiles.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I use papers that I make, papers that I buy, objects. But here's a good example too. If
Oh,
you look
that's
at the
lovely.
bird, can you see?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
The birds, like the white part of their bodies, is a paper I bought with these
Very
little
nice.
white flowers.
And that was
Yeah.
published when? 2017? I don't know when it was published.
2018 also.
2018? Okay.
Yeah. And she won several awards. It's written by Sarah Grace Tuttle. And it was her first book that she wrote, and it's done really well. And she won several awards for her poetry. So that was exciting.
So we would like to hear, which one would you like to share with us? Which poem you want to share with us?
Oh, you want me to read one?
Yeah, I would love to hear one from you.
Okay, let's do the sparrows.
Okay.
It's beautiful. All right, I'll let you look at the picture first.
Okay.
Then I'll have to move it to read it. See if I can read it. It's hard to see because of all the texture. House sparrows in the rain, huddled together in bushes, wrap tiny talons around in branches, and chitter cheep softly as they wait for the last rain drop to fall.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
So the poem, the text in this situation very much inspires the artwork. You want to get the feeling of what she's saying there. And I think with this book, each poem to me was a different world. And my goal with the book was to create a page that you wanted to step into.
Wow.
And that you could almost feel surrounding you.
Really nice.
So we made it big, so you felt like you can walk into it.
This is nice. So let me tell you, the good news is that I love talking to you, but the time is gone. They're gonna kick us out from here in any minute, in any second. So
okay,
thank you so much. We have
thank
to do this again.
Equally. Thank you so much. It was an honor, and so happy to meet you. And I love talking.
Thank you to everyone that was here with us. And leave us with one word, with one positive word. Which one that will be?
Well, such a hard time. Color popped in my mind. Just keep your life colorful. Find ways to keep the color alive.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Love you all.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Amy.